Hello and welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this morning for the first of our Leaner and Greener webinars. I'm Patricia Kingston, so for any of you that don't know me, I'm the Corporate Events Officer at Tourism NI, so it's my great pleasure to welcome you along today. This webinar is being delivered as part of Tourism NI's ongoing Tourism Enterprise Development Programme and follows on from the Leaner and Greener cost-saving masterclass last year, which some of you here today hopefully made it along to. So this is the first of our 3 follow-up webinar sessions, and today we're shining a light on water conservation. We're delighted to be joined once again by Tina O'Dwyer from the tourism space, who's leading our session today. And also this morning we'll be hearing some insights from hospitality consultant Anya Martin, who'll be sharing some of her experiences working with Ireland's first carbon neutral hotel, Hotel Doolin. If you have any questions at all for our speakers today, please be sure to pop them into the question box in your control panel at any time during the session, and I'll be picking up as many of these as possible at the end. So now, without further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker this morning, Tina O'Dwyer. Good morning, Tina, and great to have you with us. Over to you.
Thanks, Patricia. Good morning to you and good morning, everybody. I'm delighted to be back with you again following the masterclass we had last year and really diving into forgive the pun, into water and water conservation today. Here's what we're going to cover. I'm just going to get my slides moving. One sec. Okay, so we're going to cover why water conservation is important for your business, and then we're going to go into a step-by-step approach to establish 4 important things. How much water is used in your business, where that water is used in your business, what actions you can take to save water and therefore money in your business, and how you can develop an action plan to reduce use. So there's a lot of topics going to be covered here. And I know often the temptation is to get straight into action. Tell me what I need to do to reduce the water. Tell me what I need to do to reduce the costs. And we are going to come to the actions. That will be in the second part of this. But really, before you do that, it's essential to kind of get a proper management approach to this so that you get your transparency on your data, where you're starting, where you want to get to, and how you're going to get there. Knowing your starting point is really important for being able to report on your water conservation, which will become important for certification or awards or your marketing, where you're able to display the progress you have made on that. So 8 steps to water savings. This is what we're going to go through today. Anybody who was at the energy masterclass before, at the end of last year, will see that this is a similar process, and so it should be. The same process will apply to managing your energy, as managing your water, as managing your waste, which we'll be speaking about in a future webinar as well. So the first things are appoint a green team or green champion. That's a fancy way of saying put somebody in charge. And if you're the only person in your business, then you're the person in charge of this, but really commit to somebody paying attention to this. The next thing you'll do is calculate your annual units and costs, and we're going to show you how to do that during this webinar. Then establish your benchmark, and then start monitoring monthly. And as I say, we're going to speak through each of these this morning now as well. The next thing, once you have that, you have your data, you have an understanding of how much you're using and how much it's costing you. Then we start looking at equipment and behavior. You're going to measure your flow rates, do a walk around water audit, and then you have kind of at that stage the data you're going to need to really be able to prioritize your actions, what it is you need to do first and in what order. And based on that, you can create your water saving action plan. So I'm going to speak through that for about 20 minutes, and then Anya is going to join us. As Patricia mentioned, Anya was the green manager of the first certified carbon neutral hotel here in the south of Ireland. And so she really has walked the talk on this, and she's going to bring in her insights to how they activated their action plan in Hotel Doolin. So I should, I suppose, point as well to the tourismni.com/leaner greener. You'll be able to find a guide there, particularly related to water conservation, and also all of the spreadsheets that I'm going to refer to here in one particular workbook. So there's a guidebook and a workbook available for you to download after this on the Leaner and Greener section of tourismni.com. So why is it important for your business? None of the reasons will surprise you. It reduces costs and saves you money. That's really important. You pay water according to the amount of water you use. The less you use, the less you pay. It also reduces greenhouse gas emission. Using water is one of the contributors to our Scope 3 emissions. It makes your business more resilient in terms of costs and what's going to happen in the future. It may also boost your business brand and reputation. We know there's a lot more interest in sustainable approaches to business now, and really your clients, customers and staff expect this. Being wasteful in any area has really become highly unfashionable. Convenience is not as high up the agenda as being responsible in relation to the use of resources. Top line figures for Northern Ireland, just to give us some background. Water is what they call the ultimate renewable resource. The amount of water on Earth is finite. It's the same. It always stays the same, but it is always continuously recycling itself, moving from various forms like gas, liquid, ice, different parts of the Earth, and it's constantly moving, but it does that slowly. So while there's no danger of the Earth running out of water, it is possible that on local levels we have, and we see that, we have serious issues around water. So just from a Northern Ireland perspective, well, this is globally here first, about 71% of the Earth's surface is made up of water. 97.5% of that is salt water. And of the remaining 2.5%, the majority is permanently frozen or otherwise unavailable for our use. So only 1% of the Earth's water is available for our use. And there has been a 600% increase in the global demand for water over the last 100 years, and that is projected to continue to grow, a growth in demand of 50% anticipated by up to 2030. So how we manage and use water given that kind of increase in demand is really, really important. Just, I suppose it's out of interest really from a Northern Ireland perspective, brushing your teeth with the tap running can cause 6 litres of water per minute, not just in Northern Ireland now, obviously, clearly, but this source is from Northern Ireland water. So that's if you leave the tap running while you brush your teeth. Around 30% of water in an average household is used to flush the toilet, and a bath uses 80 litres of water. In 5 minutes, a standard shower uses 35 litres of water, while a power shower uses more than a bath, 90 litres of water as well. So you can see how our choices do make a difference. A typical business premises on average uses 50 litres of water per person per day, used in this kind of breakdown, toilet flushing and urinal flushing being the biggest users, washing, cleaning and canteen use coming after that. So 50 litres per water per person per day in an average business. So we need to get behind for your business, your particular water use, and get to understand that. There are what I call 4 reference points where you can find the data that you need to decide what you're going to do in terms of taking action on water conservation. That's your water bill, your water meter, any sub-meters if you have them, not everybody has them, and the flow rate within your equipment and appliances. So let's look at this first. I'm going to, as we talked through the 8 steps, we're going to go through these one by one. Appointing your green team or green champion. As I said, basically putting somebody in charge of measuring and monitoring your water use. So establishing where you are right now and then committing to measuring it on an ongoing basis. It's the only way you can truly manage water and save money. Water is one of the areas, I think, on the leaner, greener theme where it's quite clear what you need to do and there's a set number of actions, and once you've done them, you've done them. But until you get into the data, it's really just a bill that comes twice a year, and you're not really in a position to, it comes twice a year and it comes much later than when you've used the water. So it makes it harder for you to react. So really getting on top of the data is an important area. This is the first worksheet you'll find in the workbook. I call it the water use and cost sheet. Whoever you put in charge, your green team or your green champion, this will be the sheet that they use to do their measuring and monitoring. And I'm going to talk through this. It looks a bit complicated there. In reality, it's not. We'll talk through it in a little while. So that sheet is kind of your management tool for water, or a similar one. You may decide to create something similar to yourself. So once you have somebody in charge, their first job is to calculate the annual use and cost. How much water do you use in your business right now? And this is your baseline. So let's assume you've never done anything to conserve water, and that's a big assumption because I know there's lots of people on here who have done a lot. But let's say from the moment you start, that is, you want to be able to communicate your progress as you go. So 1 year from now, I've saved X amount of water and X amount of money. So you need to know what your baseline is. You need to know where you are right now. Given that we're at the start of the year, it makes sense to use your baseline 2022 as your baseline year. Okay, what did we use in 2022 and how much did it cost us? You will get that information on your water bill. Okay, and either you have your water bills with you, or you'll be able to check them up online or request them from the water company if you do need that. But your water bill will show you specifically exactly how much you have used in terms of cubic meters of water, and in terms of what it cost you. As well as that, it will show additional standing charges and some other storage related charges and items like that. But really, this is your This is your data source, your primary data source. This is just a screenshot from niwater.com, where there is a section on how you understand your bill. If you haven't already started this, we know that the vast majority of people get their bill, read the figure, pay the bill, and that's it. And really on the back, they need to look at the back of the bill where all the detailed information is on their data. So we don't have time to really drill into it here, but you can look at this section on northernirelandwater.com. And if you haven't done that already, I would strongly encourage you to do that. This isn't readable, but you can see there's a lot of information on the back of the bill. It's your charges in detail. There's information about your meter. There's information about your usage. So if there's anything on that bill you don't understand, make it your business to find that out. One of the ways to do that, actually, sorry, I thought it was a slide ahead there. When you get your bill for last year, then you want to start filling out this spreadsheet. The first thing there you'll see is for last year, 2022 total cubic meters. How many cubic meters of water did you use in 2022? You'll just be adding that up from the bills you got in 2022. And you'll also be able to get your total cost. So on this spreadsheet, the cells that are shaded there in green, they're the only ones you fill in. The other ones will make calculations based on the data you fill in. So you're just filling in the green. So once you do that, you're going to be able to work out your cost per cubic meter in 2022. And that's likely a good estimate of what it will also be in 2023, or the nearest one you're going to get. So that's the first thing you do. The Consumer Council in Northern Ireland does offer a free water bill health check, and this is a really brilliant service if you're trying to understand your bill, particularly for the first time, but at any time I would say. It provides you with a simple breakdown and explanation of your bill. It makes sure you're being billed correctly and helps identify opportunities for you to save money on your bill as well. And if appropriate in your particular situation, you may receive some water efficiency advice. It's free. You contact the Consumer Council, there's the details there, and you and request one of those. So I think that's an important thing to do, just to make sure everything on your bill is as it should be. So suggested actions. One of the first thing is to ensure you are receiving a metered bill. Excuse me, not all businesses and premises do receive a metered bill, so check that you are. We'll talk about why that's important. Get familiar with all the information on your bill. Apply for a water bill health check through the Consumer Council, and record your 2022 figures in worksheet 1, because 2022 is now your baseline. The next step is to benchmark. Okay, so a benchmark means, what does that mean? It allows you to track your performance over time, and it also allows you to compare your performance against others in the industry. So an example of a benchmark would be 95 litres per guest if you were, let's say, a hotel, or 45 litres per square metre. Hotels often use square metres, or visitor attractions might use that as well, or 110 litres per cover if you were a restaurant. So what it does is it relates your water usage to your business specifically. So, and it also relates it to something that you can track over time. So you might have a year where you do, for any reason, double the amount of business as the year before. You might have opened a new restaurant, or you might have opened a new section in your restaurant. So your usage doubles. But really what you need to look at is per cover, because that's a constant. That shows you what you're doing, irrespective of your business going up and down. Something that's central to your business, that's constant in your business, that you can track over time. And it allows you to get over those seasonal variations and variations from one year to the next. It also allows you to think, if my restaurant is 110 litres per cover, but yours is 140, what's the difference? Am I tracking good or bad compared to somebody else, or compared to national averages? So this is really important for tracking yourself over time as well as a constant. And on the worksheet, you'll see here this column that is going to calculate your benchmark for you month by month, once you can fill in your benchmark measure. And you see this there, the benchmark measure underneath the estimated cost for 2023. You fill both of those in. So the benchmark measure might be, I do 5,000 covers in a season in my restaurant. So that's 5,000, and it's going to calculate for you your cubic meters per cover. If it was a business that does it by square meter, you'll key in, we have 1,000 square meters on our premises, and then it's going to calculate based on that. So whatever makes the most sense for you, it might be per ticket, might be per square meter, it might be per cover, as I say, something that makes the most sense for you, that allows you to track over time. And once at this stage, you now know your baseline, you know what your benchmark measurement is going to be. Now you want to monitor monthly on your water. And this is, I suppose, where the work is in water, is getting familiar with your water meter, and if you need them, sub-meters as well. So we've gotten what we can from the bill at this stage, but one of the we'll say here's the monthly. You can see there in the spreadsheet again, January, February, March, April. That's where you're going to fill in month by month. Now your bill doesn't come monthly, which is why you need to look at the water meter to be able to fill this in. We'll talk about why that's important. So that's that column there. Northern Ireland Water aims to read the meter at least twice a year, and it guarantees that one bill per year is based on a meter reading. And you usually get your bill once every 6 months. So this is important because it means if they guarantee once a year, it's quite likely that one of your bills is not based on a meter reading. So it's not an accurate bill. So you're not sure if what's on your bill is actually what you consumed. And in terms of managing water, it's important to know what you consumed. Now, it may happen that both are metered, but it seems like only a guarantee on one. And then you're getting the bill once every 6 months. So you're getting it 6 months after you use the water. So whatever you use in January, you might receive the bill for in July. If you sprung a leak in January, you're not going to notice that till your bill comes in July. And that's why it's really very important to go month by month on your meter readings. So the information is more timely, the information is more accurate, and it allows you to monitor patterns over different months, weeks, and even days. You're involved in tourism, which is seasonal. So your usage in January will be very different to your usage in June, but they're both going to appear amalgamated into the 1 6-month bill, for example. So you really need to get behind that to understand what's happening month by month. Important about reading your meter is to be safe and follow guidelines. There are guidelines, you can see the link there to niwater.com on how to read your meter. Once you know how to do it, it's fine, but just make sure you're taking all the proper precautions and following the guidelines on this. Some businesses will benefit from having some sub-meters, larger businesses in particular. So you may have a hotel, for example, it may make sense to sub-meter the laundry, the kitchen, and the swimming pool area because they're all high users of water. And again, it's all just appearing in one amalgamated bill. You need to figure out, if you really want to get behind where you're going to make savings and water. So you can install those in your premises, and then you can read each of your sub-meters as well. You would create a bit more sophisticated spreadsheet that would allow you to see each department section by section. So really, up until this point, we're speaking about getting your data and getting access to your data through your meter as well. And using that spreadsheet, once you have it set up, as I said, it looks complicated, but I hope it's not when you look at it one by one. You're going to get most of the data from your 2022 bill. Then you're going to get it month by month from your meter reading. And your benchmark is just a figure that you're going to know yourself and fill in there. So once you have it set up, basically your bill will come once a month. Whoever's in charge of it, and you need somebody in charge, will be responsible for updating that spreadsheet when the bill comes in. That's going to take less than 5 minutes. Equally, if they do that as well with your energy bill when it comes in, if they do that as well with your waste bills, you gradually have a system of just monitoring your use as you go. The next step we're going to talk about then is flow rates. So now you know what it's costing, you know where you're using. Once you have a good sense of how much water, flow rates and a walk around audit are going to help you get behind that. So what this means is counting the water using fixtures and appliances inside and outside your business and identifying the flow rates. What's a flow rate? A flow rate is the speed at which water flows out of a tap, shower, or toilet in litres per minute. So it's a way to check basically how much water is coming out of each appliance. And there are good flow rate best practice or standard practice, I suppose, what would be considered a good flow rate. For kitchen taps, it's 6 to 8 litres per minute. For public and restroom taps, 2 to 4 litres per minute. Showers, 6 to 8, and toilets, 4 to 6. So they would be, I suppose, the most efficient and what you'd be aspiring to in terms of a flow rate. To calculate your flow rate, here's a simple step-by-step process. Open your tap or shower at full force, let it run for 10 seconds into a bucket, measure how much water is in the bucket, literally with a measuring jug or something like that, and multiply by 6 to get the litres used per minute. Okay, so that will tell you for a tap or a shower exactly what its flow rate is. And you'll then be able to compare it to the best practice. You'll be delighted if it's the same as the best practice, that would be great. If it's different, you may want to consider what you can do to rectify that. So for example, a flow rate, if you want to compare them for let's say one tap versus the best practice, the number of litres per minute by the estimated number of minutes in use per day by the number of weeks in use in the year. And I'll just show you an example for that. That's going to give you your annual consumption from that tap, how much water you use from that tap. So let's take that, for example, a bathroom tap is 6 litres per minute in my fictional business. It's on for 2 hours a day. We're estimating, that would be the estimate, 120 minutes per day. You'll only be able to estimate how much it's on for. And it's on for 363 days of the year, let's assume. So you've got a fairly good idea. That's going to use 261,360 litres of water per year, that tap at that kind of usage. So 6 litres isn't best practice, 2 to 4 is. So let's just estimate that at 3 litres per minute for an optimal bathroom tap, the same amount of use, same number of days, and you're going to have half the amount of litres used out of that tap. So that makes sense. If you've half the flow rate, it'll be half the use. Then you know what you're being charged per cubic meter, multiply that out. How much would it save you to change that tap, for example? And that will help you decide, is it worth it? And is it something you should prioritize? If you have multiple taps, which most businesses do, you can see how that could really add up over time. So the flow rates are important. Do that for all your heavy users of water, and in fact for all your users of water, and do that exercise of comparing to best practice. If you're there, that's great, and if you're not, you can consider what investments you might make to address that. The next thing is a walk around audit for your business, and as the name suggests, it means walking around your business but focusing purely on water, taking half an hour to just walk around, looking at water, going, where is water being used and is it being wasted? Is there a way that we could conserve more water? There is in your workbook just a handy table to help you do this, which is, there's no science in it at all, just a table that says, look at the area, ladies' toilet. What I noticed the tap was left running on full force, but nobody there. We all see that happening. Somebody has used the sink and the tap is still running. What could we do? We could change to switch off to automatic taps, for example. You might get into the kitchen and see, the tap is running while something else is happening, while somebody's busy doing something else. If we switched it off, would that make a difference? And so on around the building. You'll find as we talk to the action area, some of the biggest areas for water saving, not surprisingly, are in people's behavior, yourself, your staff, and your guests. So this kind of walk around of how things are happening can really reveal to you where you could make good savings. And again, I would urge you, don't just take it on a hunch. Don't be, sitting in your head going, yeah, they do that there, they do that there, do that. Actually walk around when your business is busy and when things are happening and when people are there, and just observe. And you're not trying to find fault, and you don't even need to discuss it with anybody when you're on the audit. You're literally just observing, noticing things that you walk by most of the time and thinking, could there be an improvement here? And logging it in the table so that way it's shareable with other people. So now you have a set of data. You should have your flow rate information from your major equipment, and you should also have your walk around audit and walk around audit information. 2 sets of information now. Now you can analyze that and see, what are we going to do and what can we do? It's a great idea to brainstorm this. As I said, you have a clear picture of your water use profile and it highlights priority areas for action. Great idea to brainstorm it with your team. Share this information back. If you're the whole team, share it with somebody else. Maybe there's another solo business nearby, or there's somebody within your family or a friend or a business associate that you could have that look at it with you, and think of some ideas of what might be the priorities and what can we do. In most cases, priority areas will jump out. Things will be really obvious, particularly if you're early in your journey on water conservation. And with that, you can broadly estimate the costs and resources required. So you can really do that analysis of, what should I do first? Take the actions with the lowest cost and the highest impact first. That makes sense. Just say, where's the biggest savings here? Let's do that first, and prioritize them according to that. So after this, and you sit down, you brainstorm your data, you're going to go, you have a fair sense of what I need to do now. Let's create the action plan. What are we going to do now? So you're at action plan stage. And as I said at the beginning, many people start at the action plan. Yeah, they start and go, we'll install a rainwater harvesting system, or we'll change all our taps, without doing those steps beforehand. And I would just strongly urge you to take the time. I really believe it won't take all that very long to just gather your starting point information, gather your baseline data, know where you're starting, and do that little bit of auditing and investigation to see where really are the priority areas here, what really is happening in our business. It's not going to take a lot of time. I believe it'll pay back to you all year long in savings in water and in costs. So in terms of the action plan at this stage, I think I would like to introduce Anya Martin. As I said, Anya is a hospitality consultant. She's formerly the Green Manager of Ireland's first certified carbon neutral hotel, which is Hotel Doolin, and really been paving the way in leaner and greener activity in hospitality here in our neck of the woods. So I'm going to ask Anya to share her experiences of water conservation. And if you have questions or anything, as Patricia said, pop them in and we'll hopefully take them at the end. Over to you, Anya.
Thanks very much, Tina. Good morning, everyone, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity to present to you this morning. Hotel Doolin is located in County Clare. I've put this slide in just to give you an idea of where we're located. You'll see in the back of the picture the sea. The hotel is a 10-minute drive from the Cliffs of Moher, which would be the most visited natural tourist attraction in Ireland. And also it's located in the Burren and Cliffs of Moher UNESCO Global Geopark. So it's a really special region. And that's where the whole inspiration for the carbon neutral journey began. It was about protecting the beautiful environment where we are so fortunate to live and to work in. Hotel Doolin, to give you an overview, there are 17 bedrooms, not a huge number of bedrooms, but there are also 9 holiday homes. The Eco Barn, it's a wedding and events venue, has a capacity of 300 people, hosts about 130 weddings per year, and generally they're 2-day events. So when I mentioned about not having a lot of bedrooms, the number of guests who are coming to the weddings, they stay in local bed and breakfast, so it's, you know, helping the local community. It's also home of Doolin Folk Festival and Doolin Hedge School, a glass restaurant where about 70% of the food produce is purchased from a 50-kilometre radius of the hotel. Fitz's Pub and Snow Bar, the Attic Music Venue, Stonewall Cafe and Pizzeria, and there are 120 employees. So it's a busy hotel. So what we did was we set up a green team, and the 3 aims were to reduce carbon footprint, to improve involvement within your community and within your region, and to increase corporate social responsibility activities and to purchase locally. And they are still the 3 aims of the Hotel Doolin Green Team. So the 3 R's are to reduce, reuse and recycle. I'm seeing those terms more and more, but they were our 3 R's from the beginning. And in particular, that is in place with water, reducing the amount of water that's consumed within the business, reusing water and recycling as well. So I'll go into a little bit more detail on what we've done. The 3 P's are people, planet and profit. Training staff at induction and regular training sessions is essential. So as HR manager at the hotel, I was responsible for induction. So from day one, we would have planted a seed with all of the new members of the team and we completed a whole section on green hospitality and environmental efforts that the team would need to focus on. So there was a significant amount of time invested in that, and it also gave the opportunity to be able to see who specifically of the new team members was interested in protecting the environment and maybe inviting them onto the green team. The manager on duty, the duty manager, would also be responsible for doing audits and checks daily as part of their checklist and making sure that all areas were doing the initiatives that we had come up with. How did we achieve carbon neutral certification? The hotel worked with Green Hospitality Programme. It's the national resource for sustainable and responsible tourism in Ireland, recognised by governmental authorities including Fáilte Ireland, Tourism Ireland, Discover Ireland and the SEAI. Certification included several visits, creating a 5-year energy efficiency plan and finally being assessed, and in the hotel's case being awarded the Carbon Neutral 12 Green Mark. And it was the first hotel in the country to get this certification. And there are currently 2 hotels in the Republic of Ireland who have this certification. And that all happened in 2019. By setting up the green team 10 years ago, it was subdivided into a water team, an energy team, a waste team, and green purchasing and corporate social responsibility. And the green team would generally meet about once a month for about an hour. We would keep it short and sweet so that it didn't become too much of a chore. And, you know, we all know that, you know, we have to get on with the other parts of the business, and in our case, you know, running a business, welcoming guests to stay overnight and to dine and to get married. So it isn't always easy, but it was important to set that hour aside every month. Tina covered it already. Why reduce water consumption? Obviously, cost is key to any business. If you save water, you save money. And secondly, the environmental impact for us. 1/3 of the world's population lives in countries experiencing water shortages. So some statistics for you. You see here 2019 versus 2021 figures. So even though the number of guests decreased in 2021 after COVID reopening again, the important figure here is that calculating the number of litres of water per guest, it changed from 23 litres per guest down to 18 litres per guest through different measures. That's a 43% saving per person, which is very significant when you think that the total cubic meters of water being 3,578 cubic meters, which is actually 3,578,000 litres of water. Establishing a baseline, so reading the water meter at the same time every day is what we would have done. In our case, we had a lever arch folder or book at the reception. The maintenance manager read the meter at the same time every day and wrote down, you know, each day what the meter was reading. It's important to read the meter at the same time every day. And then for me, when I was looking at the workbook and putting in figures, I would just deduct the first day of the month from the last day of the month, and that was able to give me what the cubic meters of water were for each month. So it's as simple as that. There are sub-meters as well for laundry and for the kitchen at Hotel Doolin. Setting a target then for reduction. If it's your first time going about reducing water consumption, I would be ambitious. You know, there's no reason why a company couldn't set a target of 15 or 20% in the first year, if this is the first year that you're going about doing reducing your water consumption. So allocating somebody responsibility to the relevant departments. So in our case, with regards to water, it was the maintenance manager and the executive chef, because Hotel Doolin is such a strong food and beverage operation. It was important that the kitchen in particular was involved, and the low-hanging fruit is there for the first year or so, if that's when you're if the stage that you're at. Some things that we would have done: shower taps and aerators. So we replaced the shower head and tap aerators with new water saving ones, and that'll bring you a return on investment after just a few months. They'll be paid for. They're not expensive. They also reduce energy usage as less water is required to be heated, and reductions of up to 55% can be achieved without affecting guest comfort. And I think that's the key thing. Any measures that are taken into consideration, like guest comfort is always essential. So like, I just think always keep that in the back of your head. Don't compromise on guest standards. So you don't want to, you know, it's easy to reduce the shower pressure down to, you know, just a couple of litres, but are the guests going to be happy? You don't want them writing about you on TripAdvisor. So just the rates that the comfort of the guests is essential. Hippo bags in the toilet cistern. So they're a simple, proven, low-cost water-saving device which help conserve water in the toilet cisterns at home and in businesses. Every time a toilet is flushed, the Hippo bag saves approximately 3 litres of water. Payback is 8 to 12 weeks, and here in the Republic it's €5.68 for 2 bags. Harvesting rainwater, there's a 6,500 litre tank in the garden underground, very low maintenance, and the water that's harvested in the tank is used for the polytunnel and cleaning back of house areas in like the yard. We also installed 4 chutes running from gutters into pipes, bringing rainwater to the tank. And this water is used daily for watering plants in the polytunnel and cleaning also. It's used for power hosing the hotel and footpaths. Behaviour, Tina mentioned it already, but it's key that you get the team involved as well. So this involves educating the team hugely on the positive effects that their activities can have. And like one example that came to mind there through Tina's presentation was like the kitchen porter. You know, you might have a new young person who's come in and it might be their first time doing wash up, and teaching them to fill a sink with hot water as opposed to just letting the water run all the time. So that's one of the things that we would have seen when we went around and did our audit. Retraining, refraining from defrosting food with running water. That was something that was happening in the kitchen a lot. Training kitchen porters not to leave taps running. Standard operating procedures for cleaning bedrooms, like how many flushes are required by the housekeeping team. You know, are there 4 flushes happening now? Maybe there are only 2 flushes required. And fixing leaks and dripping taps and equipment. Additional steps that we would have taken were having a water refill station in the hotel where people could get their reusable water bottle filled at no charge. No plastic bottles of water or soft drinks are sold in the hotel either. Urinals in the bathrooms flush every 2 hours and are spot checked regularly. We operated a towel and linen reuse program in the bedrooms to reduce the amount of laundry and incentivize the guests not to have their room serviced if they're staying for more than one night by giving them a €5 bar voucher, and there was a positive uptake on this offering. Recommended steps: start if you haven't already, and it's a really positive exercise for the team, guests, suppliers and all stakeholders involved in the business. Get your team involved. First step is to start recording and monitoring your water usage and then setting a target for what you want the business to achieve in terms of a reduction. Train your team from day one. I mentioned about the hippo bags, the aerators, harvesting rainwater, training staff to be aware of reducing their water consumption and get their ideas and suggestions. My top tip is to get a folder and subdivide all of the bills that you get for water, your waste and your energy, so that you can put your hands on those bills really easily to be able to look at your consumption. Follow up on discrepancies. You may have a leak, and to do that, you turn the water off and you can establish if the meter is still running. One thing that I do feel really helped in Hotel Doolin's case was all the green work that has happened has significantly improved business levels. So 10 years ago, the hotel was hosting about 20 weddings per year. I mentioned how the hotel now hosts 130 weddings per year. There's no conventional marketing done as such, and a huge amount of that can be attributed to the green efforts. So even though it's not the #1 priority, it has certainly helped Hotel Doolin's business levels. And that's it. Don't make it a chore, make it fun. And if anybody has any questions, I'm delighted to answer them. And I would also like to hand back over to Tina, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Anya. It's great to hear from somebody who has actually kind of taken the steps, done the journey. If you have questions there, please do bring them up for us at the end. I'm sure Anya will be very happy to answer them. Anya's started us off there on the action planning side of things. I think you'll see what we're speaking about in terms of an approach is actually what got applied in their business without the benefit of this training. That's the plow the furrow they plowed, so to speak. And I think it's really transferable to other areas. So we've gone through we're at our final step, your water savings action plan, which is really quite important. And in your workbook, you will have a template like the one here on screen that just says, you know, what is it we're going to do actually. Now we've done the prioritizing and the data, what are we going to do? And really anything that occurs to you as an action, be it high priority or low priority, can find a place on your action plan. Not everything needs to get done this month or this year. You can have things on your action plan that are 3 years out and 4 years out, for example, but there's an awareness around them of when they'll come into play, if they'll come into play, for example. So this is really taking the time to be methodical and writing down the actions you're going to take rather than going off ad hoc and doing it. And I'll emphasize again, there's great benefit in that, but 3 big ones that I can think of is if any of you apply for certification, green certification, you need to demonstrate your data. You need to demonstrate where you've started, where you finished, and what actions you took. And they will be interested in seeing an action plan. It's like a minimum requirement. So you may as well bring in that discipline now. If you apply for awards or recognitions, and we're seeing that they're getting increasingly important in this area as well, the same story applies. You need to prove what you've done. And this is like the documentary evidence of what you're going to say. And I think the other really important thing, and Anya mentioned it there, is it motivates your team. It motivates yourself and your team. It gives you getting everybody on the same sheet. This is the sheet. And it allows people to kind of tick their actions off and everybody to feel that they're making progress and that we're on a shared journey here. And that's vitally important, the engagement of your team, even if it's just yourself. And I do refer to team as yourself for small businesses. The satisfaction of knowing that you have a plan, you have kind of deadlines for yourself and you're meeting them. That builds momentum within your business and it builds momentum on the whole leaner and greener journey. What we're speaking about here is getting yourself set up for that. Once you get into the flow of this, you'll start to see more and more actions and this journey will continue to expand for you, much as Anya described there happened with their team in Hotel Doolin. My slide now isn't moving. I might need a little bit of help there from the background team.
Tina, yep. So just move the mouse and click on the screen.
Oh, okay, perfect. My mistake. There we are. So I'm going to go back to that slide because it's an important one. It's only an action plan if it is clear who has to take the action and when that action has to be taken by. So if you go back and look at this particular table here, it is important to fill in who is responsible, when the job has to be done by, and any particular notes. Anya referred there to the kitchen manager and the operations manager both being part of the team for different reasons. Specifying who takes each action. That's how it becomes an action plan. If it doesn't have those, it's just a wish list. And there's no need for it to be a wish list whatsoever. So action ideas, Anya has mentioned a lot of them. So this is really a recap of what Hotel Doolin might have done in practice and some of the areas that you can think about. Given the time, we don't delve into the detail of the how-to of many of these, but again, there might be space in the questions for that, and they're a good point for you just to help with your action planning. 4 main action areas that I would see normally: fixing leaks, investing in equipment, altering behavior, and introducing new systems. And I find it's helpful to compartmentalize them like that. So let's look at leaks first. You are responsible for leaks. It's not Northern Ireland Water. Once the water enters your property, you are responsible for it. And like I mentioned, if you spring a leak in January and get your bill in July, that's really a shocking cost that you need not have incurred at all. So the very first thing is to check whether you have leaks or not and make sure that you don't. An overnight test is the best idea. Select a time when your business has minimal or no activity, take a meter reading, wait 3 hours and take the meter reading again. And if there's a substantial difference, you have a leak. That's a certainty. Get the plumber in, contact Northern Ireland just to let them know, find out if they can help in any way. You never know, but really it's on you to get that fixed. So that's the most straightforward way to figure if you have a mains leak. Do an overnight test, or it can be during the day if there's minimal activity happening. The other area is leaks in equipment. And we do see these, and it's just about introducing a culture and a policy and a discipline of acting on leaky equipment as quickly as possible, like a dripping tap, shower heads, or other appliances, and engaging staff to be alert to leaks and to get them reported straight away, and that somebody is responsible for reporting leaks, but also for getting them fixed. They're the 2 kind of biggest wastes of water that need not happen and can be addressed quite quickly. The second area is investing in equipment. We spoke about the flow rates there, for example. If you see a gap between best practice flow rate and what's happening on your own equipment, see what you can do to address that. Aerators, Anya mentioned them. She said they're not expensive. They pay back quickly, reduce the flow rates. They just add more air into the water coming out. They apply easily to a tap or a shower head, so you get the same experience without the same amount of water. There's more air blowing out, giving that feeling of water. Cistern bags, Anya mentioned the hippo bag. If your toilet flow is high, but you do need to make sure your flush remains strong enough. So there's a little bit of monitoring at the beginning. You don't want to displace 3 litres of water from a 6-litre toilet, but if you have an older one, that can be really useful. Bricks do that job as well, if you don't want to use the sister bag. Waterless or censored urinals. Anya mentioned that their urinals just flush every 2 hours rather than continuously. Taps, replacing traditional taps with mixer taps, lever taps, or sensor taps. Traditional taps really are not good because people do leave them running. Low flow showers, mixing air with water but preserving the shower experience as well. And we saw some of the usage liters for showers earlier on there as well. So that's in terms of equipment. It's either replacing the equipment to equipment that has a better flow rate, or installing some other appliances that will help reduce the amount of water in each case. And then we're on to big action area 3, which is influencing behavior change. And this is where really quite a lot can change. And I think back to mentioning about the green team, and you heard that Hotel Doolin set up a green team with different areas. Is that in itself is a signal within your business of a particular culture and something you want to do, that you want to become efficient in these areas of energy, waste and water, and that as a team or as a group that we can really work on that. So it's about maintaining that kind of climate of action in this area and of care. This is an old example. I think it comes from 2014. It's from Green Hospitality in Ireland, but I find it impactful. The figures might be different now. If a kitchen porter leaves the pot wash sink on with no stopper in the sink for 5 minutes every hour, not even 5 continuous minutes, but 5 minutes within an hour, 1,700 litres per day are wasted. That can be as much as 1,800 per annum in terms of water. And if it was a hot tap, as much as 10,000 per annum. Like I said, they're old figures, but you can see how a tap could be on for a total of 5 minutes in an hour unnecessarily. And it's just raising awareness around things like that without blame, but with a new step forward in terms of what we're seeking to do. So changing behavior, start with yourself, lead by example. You're the first person to look at your own behavior and where that can change. Then invest in communication, training, and monitoring. Uh, and that's just letting people know, talking about it, introducing some training, a bit like we're doing today. And there's many training resources out there now as well, and there are resources in your guidebook that you can refer to. And then monitoring is, like I said, keeping that spreadsheet or something similar updated on a monthly basis. It's interesting there that Anya said somebody read their water meter every single day, and that once a month in her role as the green manager, Anya would have done the deduction for the month. But it meant if somebody was looking every day, you really are going to pick up changes and understand what's happening behind that. And I think in businesses with high water consumption, that's highly recommended. For the 5 minutes it will take every day to do that, it will pay back significantly. Train staff to set equipment to water saving and energy saving cycles. Invite ideas of water conservation from your team. So having a green team that meets as seldom as once a month, but to think about ideas. People, when they know this is on the agenda, will start to see great ideas. And recognize and reward the suggestions or actions that lead to savings. In some way, recognize that, and if possible, reward it, again in a small way. I think people like to have recognition, particularly of new initiatives like that. Other things to think about in terms of behavior, and we'll look at indoors first. What is the choice of wash cycle in dishwashers and washing machines? Is it the most efficient cycle? Do we need this one, or would this other one suffice? And doing a little bit of investigating and checking that. Ensuring full loads are used in dishwashers and washing machines. Minimizing water use when cleaning. I'm interested in that example Anya said, for example, about, when the bedrooms are being cleaned, introducing a standard operating procedure that actually tells people how many times you need to flush the toilet when you're cleaning the toilet. Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 4? Until that's specified, you don't know how many times it's 4 when 3 would have done. And over time, that really works into significant amounts of water conservation and cleaning. Using alternative cleaning products that don't require a lot of rinsing can save water. Using a sink stopper when rinsing or washing. Avoiding tap running in advance of cleaning and after cleaning, which is probably a great culprit area in terms of not noticing where water is being used. And Anya mentioned the example that I don't have here on my slides of using water to defrost food and eliminating that practice as well. More behavior change if we look at, we're still indoors, check, or outdoors, this should say, sorry, check sprinklers are not sprinkling on hard surfaces. So when you have your sprinklers on your lawns, make sure they're actually going to the lawns and not elsewhere. Selecting plants that require minimal watering can help for sure. And watering early in the morning and late in the evening, particularly in summer, can help you get the most out of the water you are using as well. And start mulching. Add a layer of bark to keep the sun off the soil and reduce the water that is removed from the soil as well. So that's your behavior change, lots of little areas around the business. And I'd repeat again, really engage your team, do the walk around audit as well, and just start to think of where can we save even a little bit of water, because each time you're multiplying that out by the number of days that little bit of water is going astray and the number of days in the year that that's happening, converting that to cubic liters, and then through that converting that to how much it's actually costing you. New systems. Install sub-meters where relevant. If you have an area in your business with high water use, it's important to get behind the data there and understand that. So put in the sub-meters if relevant and where relevant in your business. Rainwater harvesting, Anya mentioned it, is an area to invest in. I don't believe it's high cost, and you do have opportunities to do that. We get plenty of rain, and there are areas where it can be used within your business quickly and easily. And a water filtration system is another area to consider as well. Things like outdoor water filtration systems that help the sewerage system can also sort with your water. Now they are specialist areas, I suppose, to get involved in. It's important to get expert advice when you are doing that, and there is quite a lot of advice generally from the public bodies in this area as well to help you with that. So looking at your systems overall can help reduce your water consumption as well. So that's kind of the, excuse me, I'll just get a drink of water. The whistle stop through the areas. We had our 8 steps there of how you step through doing this in a managed and methodical way. I would suggest you download the workshop resources. The guidebook is maybe 10 or 12 pages. It has much of what we have discussed during this presentation there. It has guidelines on how to use each of the worksheets that we have in the workbook. And of course, the workbook itself is there as well, where equally has guidelines. So I do think it's a nice step-by-step guide that'll help you work through your own water conservation. And like I say, it is an area where you can really get to the end of it. You can maximize what you can do in water conservation and therefore maximize the savings in cost to your business as well. There are going to be, before we finish up, when we get to the questions, there are 2 future webinars in the Leaner Greener series by Tourism NI, and so you can save the date. The next one is on Tuesday the 7th of February. It's Leaner and Greener Waste Management. It's 1 hour. Myself and Anya will be back for that. And then on Tuesday the 14th of March from 2 to 3 p.m. in the afternoon, there is a food waste webinar. And of course, there are many specific actions in the area of food waste, and you will have a food waste expert joining you for that particular one. So for now, if you can just save the date, that would be excellent. We're ready now for questions and comments. I think Patricia is going to come back in, and myself and Anya will be here. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Tina and Anya. Lots to think about and absorb there. Lots and lots of information. And as Tina mentioned, you can access the guidebook and useful templates referred to during the presentation at tourismni.com/leaner greener. And if you go to that page, you can also see the resources from our masterclass, which has another guidebook and templates on the energy management guide. And that's where we're going to keep evolving and adding more information there as we go. So that really is a useful hub to visit. A reminder to everyone joining us today as well, we'll be sharing a recording of today's session. I know it was a lot to take in, so if you want to watch it again or watch bits of it again, and we'll also be putting up onto our website a PDF of the slides from today, so you could go back and click through those again at your leisure as well. So all the resources from today will be available alongside that guidebook. So I'm going to be shortly sharing your questions with Tina and Anya. If you have any burning questions you haven't yet put into the chat, this is your chance to do that now, and we'll get through a few of those today. But just before we get stuck into those, I'm going to do a couple of very quick polls just to get a feel for how useful you found today's session so far. So they'll pop up on your screen shortly. The first one being, how would you rate today's webinar in terms of content and relevance to your business? So that's on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being not relevant at all and 5 being extremely relevant. I'll just give you a second to select one of the answers there. Okay, and our second poll is just a very simple yes or no question, and it's simply, do you plan to take any action within your business as a result of the really interesting information that you've heard today? So yes or no there. And that really does help us know if we're on the right track and make improvements for again. And also, as usual, as with all of our TED events, will be issuing a short survey via email after this session, which is really your opportunity to let us know anything else you'd like to see in the TED programme. So we really appreciate if you can take just a few minutes to complete that. If you have a moment, it'll come to you via email. We're just constantly involved in the TED programme, and your feedback, guys, is what really makes it a useful program for you. So we're delivering what it is that you guys need and want to hear. So now, my pleasure to welcome back Tina and Anya. Thank you again so much, and thanks for all that really interesting information today. Jam-packed session. Thanks. So we'll get stuck into a couple of questions. We don't have too many through here today, but while I'm chatting, if anyone wants to put anything else in the chat, then feel free. We did have a question through about microfiber towels, as to whether or not they are an option rather than cotton ones, if they maybe require a shorter wash, or if you guys would be aware if they are used at hotels anywhere at the moment, or something that could be recommended.
Yeah, I can take that question. I mentioned in my presentation about guest comfort being a priority always. And my experience, and this is just my opinion, and my experience would be that microfiber towels wouldn't be as comfortable for the guests. So I wouldn't be for them, but that is my opinion. So I would say there's probably bigger things bigger fish to fry as such than the microfiber towels. But I love the thinking, that like something small like a towel, but it wouldn't be for me.
Okay, yeah, it's getting that balance really, isn't it? Of,
yes.
As you say, guest comfort, that they're still getting that right experience, but we're managing to make those savings. Yeah. One of the other questions that's come through, it might be yourself again, Anya, is someone's really interested in looking into a reed bed water purification system and possibly rainwater harvesting. Have you any experience or any advice at all in that?
It's a win-win situation for sure, harvesting rainwater. It all depends really on what size space the business has to be able to put the tank in, but they're not expensive. The payback is if I remember correctly, I think the payback was about 2 or 3 years for us, and we put them in from day one. One thing that I would say about harvesting rainwater, if you're planning on building an extension or doing any big works, civil works, it's an opportunity to put tanks in under the new outlet. And for example, in Hotel Doolin, the barn was built in 2018, and we used to have a marquee where we used to host weddings, and it wasn't an energy efficient structure, so we replaced it with a custom built building. But we should have used that as an opportunity to put in tanks for harvesting rainwater, but we had 4 months to do it. So that's one thing, learning outcome that I learned from that. So a strong recommendation from me.
Brilliant. Yeah. Thank you so much for that.
I think on the reed bed, Patricia, if somebody was asking about that, that's a specialist area, and I would say look for specialist advice on it as well. But it's definitely what we know about it. More and more places are doing that, and even in your own home, it's totally practical. You don't need a lot of space for it, but you do need an approach. It's definitely ecologically sound. You works in conjunction with your storage tank, so it's not a replacement, but it does help that, or with a septic tank rather. And you need two, because one fills one fills and drains. It's basically one fills for a period of time while the other drains. So you need two together. There is a hotel if anybody has a large premises interested in doing this, that I heard at a conference late last year, Ballygarry House Hotel in Tralee in County Kerry, where they invested in they actually bought land around their hotel in order to invest in a really extensive reed filtration system to support the hotel into the future. And that area is now being turned into parkland and recreation area around the hotel. They got significant advice and help from their county council, who are also obviously on a drive to conserve water as well. So if anybody wanted to, I'm sure they'd be open to sharing their story as well, and they certainly have done publicly. They might be an interesting one for anybody thinking about it on a large scale.
Great, thank you so much. That's so helpful. I think maybe some of our businesses and maybe smaller businesses, they were wondering, weren't aware maybe that Northern Ireland even had water meters and water charges. So I think you mentioned this within the presentation, Tina, but is that something you can just shed a little bit of light on?
Yeah, well, if you just even Google NI water plus meters, it'll bring you straight to how to read your meter and how they meter, or also their bill, how you're charged. There's a really informative section on there. It tells you, as I said, most of us read the front of the bill, pay the bill, gets filed away. Turn over the back and you're going to see all the information I spoke about there. And if you have if it's the case that this is a surprise to you, I would definitely say contact the Consumer Council and ask for that consultation that is free. But even by yourself, you'll be able to just look at the back of that, look on niwater.com and say, how am I meant to read this bill? People are generally surprised at the standing charge that's there, irrespective of how much you use. And there may also be other treatment charges on there. Part of the service that the Consumer Council give is, are you on the right charges here? Is there anything incorrect? So check that. So they definitely do have meters, because they guarantee to read your meter at least once a year, and to give you one metered bill at least once a year. So yeah, look into that. You'll be surprised just by reading your bill. If that's all you take from this section, just read your bill, make sure you're on the right one. It will pay back dividend for you.
Absolutely, thank you so much, and thank you to everyone that submitted questions today. I hope everyone found the session as useful as I did, just sitting on the sidelines here. Just a reminder again, as Tina mentioned, both herself and Anya will be joining us on the 7th of February for our Leaner Greener Waste Management session. So if you haven't already signed up for that one, it is open for registrations. If you go to tourismni.com/TNI events, you'll be able to see that and any other upcoming events that we have. Also, we have a food waste session coming up on the 14th of March. And again, that one's open for registrations now as well. So if you haven't got your name down for either of those yet, be sure to go and get registered for those. We'll also be aiming to get the recording from today up online as quickly as we possibly can, and we'll be sharing a link with you guys of that when it's ready. And really, that's us for today. All that remains is for me to say massive thank you again, Tina and Anya. I look forward to seeing you again in February, and thanks for all the useful insights. Also, thanks to Barry hovering in the background there behind the scenes, and Jordan might be lurking there as well from the eventful team. So thank you for keeping us all right on the technical side. And thanks to all of the industry joining us here today. Hopefully welcome you along to some more sessions really, really soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.